Ladies and gentlemen, it is episode number 34 of the Primetime Rundown. Let's get it started. Dirty Little Hipster, presented to you by Black Cats NYC. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you live to episode number 34 of the Primetime Rundown right here on the Eastern Observer and the I-95 Sports Network, live on Zingo Channel 198, alongside my guys, Assistant Athletic Director for Athletic Communications, Ian Schraier at Adelphi University, and also Pucks and Pitchforks blogger, Rob DeLuca. I'm Joey Jarzynka. We cannot thank you enough for joining us here on this Friday evening. It is the 6-year anniversary of Derek Jeter concluding his home career, and I had to run just before to my little office over there and pick this up because I had to show everybody that I can't believe just by looking at this ticket it was 6 years ago, and I remember being there, and I remember once he got that walk-off hit against the Orioles, I started to cry, and your childhood is basically over at that point when I was 19 years old. And Ian, I know you're a diehard Mets fan, so you really don't have much to contribute to that.
Well, I mean, look, I certainly remember when Derek came into the league in 1996 as the eventual American League Rookie of the Year. I'll never forget that game. I remember sitting at home watching the Jeter's final at bat at home at Yankee Stadium. And I remember the first pitch. I don't remember the pitcher on the mound that night, but I do remember him grooving like that first pitch down the plate, saying, you know what, if we're going to send Jeter off, let's do it in style.
That's right.
And Jeter pokes the ball the other way for the game-winning run. So, I mean, look, his 3,000th hit was a home run. He goes out of the Yankee Stadium in style. I mean, certainly well-deserved for one of the greatest Yankees of all time.
There's no doubt about it. Rob DeLuca, your thoughts on how crazy 6 years has gone by with Derek Jeter not being a New York Yankee? Or retired, really?
Yeah, it's it's hard to believe it's already been 6 years. Especially because it felt like he was just here yesterday. It felt like just yesterday he was here, and now we don't even have the shortstop that ended up replacing him in Didi Gregorius. That's how much time has actually gone by. That's what gives me the reality check, is that the successor is no longer. We now have a great shortstop in Gleyber Torres, who is absolutely phenomenal player, having a struggling year at the moment, but who isn't? It's 2020. But yeah, I mean, just the legacy Derek Jeter left. He's the captain. There's a reason the Yankees don't have a captain right now. Because there never will be another captain. There never can be another captain wearing pinstripes in the Bronx. It's just, it can't be done.
And not only that,
Gary Sanchez stopped striking out so much, he could be the
Oh, sure.
Listen, let me tell you something. I think we have seen the last of baseball captains after David Wright retired, because really, we don't really see much. The last three that I can remember, obviously, we just said it: David Wright, Derek Jeter, Jason Varitek. Those are the three guys that I know Rob and myself grew up with, and Ian, right in the middle of your life there. And it's crazy how fast time goes, and also 4 years to the day as well that Jose Fernandez left us tragically following a boat accident with a few of his friends, and what was who he was a promising prospect and a promising star in the making, a budding superstar. Unfortunately, is taken away by a boat crash 4 years ago. Again, how crazy time flies, where now it's we have baseball to talk about. We have hockey, the Stanley Cup Finals to talk about, the NBA Finals. We have now a return for college basketball. And in a normal day, in a normal year, fellas, we would be saying, wow, hockey, this is preseason time and things would just be getting started. But just in a couple of weeks, we have our Free Agent Frenzy show, episode number 36, where we're going to have, again, our good friend Dennis Bernstein, DB, on, and we're going to have TSN's Kristen Shilton on as well. We're most likely going to have, I'll give it away, it's all right, Dave Pagnotta from the fourth period as well. They'll both be on, but it's going to be tons of fun. And again, a weird year. And, let's get it. Let's get started. Enough of my rambling here. And fellas, football, your Giants, what the hell? What happened to Saquon Barkley? I want to start with you, Ian, first. You're the football master. Well, I mean, I don't want to take that away from Rob DeLuca, but I give it to him. Let's start with you, Ian, on your Giants, and let's stay local. The New York Jets as well, because you also work there, and you were able to share a couple of pictures as well when you were there as one of the stats people. So give us a little bit of background on what you do there for the Jets, and then talk about your Giants on the other side of the locker room.
All right, so let me get this. You threw a lot of things my way, so you want me to start talking about how I got involved with the Jets?
Sure. Put it all together.
I'll do my best to try to put it all together. So one of my good friends who I've known for as long as I've been in the sports information business, which is the better part of 15 years, he was named now 2 years ago the crew chief, the stats crew chief for the Jets. He's also the press box PA announcer for the Giants. I've been working with him now in regards to football activities, at least for about 3 years. He asked me 3 years ago to come on and be his primary stats caller for the Pinstripe Bowl. So I've worked the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium each of the last 3 years in a statistical capacity. So when he made the announcement that the funny story of it is he made the announcement that he was going to be doing stats for the Jets or running the stats team for the Jets. And I texted him and said, hey, don't forget about, your good caller at the Pinstripe Bowl. Don't forget, when you become the next statistician for the Super Bowl, don't forget about who the people who helped you get there. And he says, funny, you should text me and ask me that because you were my first call and I want you to come work for me. And I was like, oh, I really wasn't expecting that response. I was kind of just hoping for it to be a capacity where, hey, if they need a fill-in or someone to help out, I'd be glad to offer my services. And I've now in my third season working with the Jets as a statistician, and I really love doing it. It's certainly 2020 has offered quite the perspective after being at MetLife last Sunday and seeing how things operate there now from the last 2 years. But it's just great to be a part of that organization. It's great to be involved with the NFL.
Yeah, it's really, really unbelievable. Again, we won't be sharing any personal pictures of you, but I did see on Facebook there, you not only it was good for you to be back there, and not only for you, but also for the staff in general, and to feel some sort of normalcy heading back into the friendly confines of MetLife Stadium there, and especially to see the Jets do absolutely abysmal. But we'll get to them in just a second. Let's talk about your New York Giants and Saquon Barkley, because he's done for the year. He tore his ACL, for those that I don't think that they're surprised. I think they heard about it this whole week, but we're just getting to it now. Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, he's going to need to have some sort of reconstructive knee surgery. I mean, he not only tore his ACL, he sprained his MCL and did something to his meniscus too. I remember the tackle by Eddie Jackson. It looked like Saquon was trying to do a little too much. He took a lot of Tiki Barber's critiques a little bit to heart, it seemed like, as that challenge, as he so called it, and went down wrong on his knee on the tackle by Eddie Jackson in the first quarter. There's no doubt it's backbreaking, but the Giants also had to show up for a half. I mean, it was 17-0 at the half. They didn't show up in the first half. Daniel Jones had a fumble and an interception in the first half, and they were still down 17-0 at the half. And in the second half, scored 13 unanswered, forced 2 turnovers, and actually had a chance to win the game on the final play of the game. So, yes, losing Saquon, there's no doubt he's backbreaking. He's a cornerstone player. He's the future, along with Daniel Jones, of the franchise. He's going to want to get paid in the offseason, so there's going to be a lot of question marks surrounding whether or not he should be owed that money, considering he got hurt last year. He was playing hurt last year, and now he's done 2 games in this year. So, it's like I said, it's unfortunate for the Giants. I mean, the bright spot is the fact that it looks like the Giants are kind of buying into Joe Judge's coaching philosophy. I mean, most teams probably would have laid down. I'm sure Giants teams from the past 2 or 3 years probably would have laid down at 17-0 and said, let's move on to week 3. Let's move on to San Francisco. They score 13 unanswered and have a chance to win the game in the final seconds. So, and then on top of that, they signed Devontae Freeman. I mean, is he the same running back that he was 2 or 3 years ago in Atlanta? No, probably not. And they're going to ease him into the offense. He's going to get a very limited number of touches on Sunday against the 49ers. So expect to see a good combination between Dion Lewis and Wayne Gallman coming out of the backfield for the Giants. But we'll see how resilient they can be. I mean, Saquon's out, Shepard's out. We still haven't seen anything of positive yet from Evan Ingram. So and they're going to be facing a very depleted San Francisco 49ers team has 13 guys on their injury report, more than half of which are all starters. So, this is a big game coming up for the Giants. It's a big game for Daniel Jones because they're clearly not going to be running their offense through the running game because Saquon's out. So it's a big game for Jones to prove himself that he was worth that first-round pick, and for the Giants to show that they can bounce back against a team that's really devastated by injury right now.
And on top of it, they also have the San Francisco 49ers coming up. And let's not forget, just a week ago at MetLife, and again, you covered them, or you were doing stats for the Jets and the 49ers. Let's not forget, a majority of the starting lineup actually went down. Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously, he has a high ankle sprain. Nick Bosa tore his ACL. You already had Richard Sherman out. You had Deebo Samuel out already. I'm just trying to think a few more.
Obviously, is out. George Mostert, out.
And Jerick McKinnon now is the
Solomon Thomas is out.
Tailback, right? Exactly. So now is the time for the Giants really to they'll be able to. I personally believe potentially. This is their time where they could prove themselves, and if they get a win over the defending NFC champions, that could go a long way in their confidence in building this team and building building the confidence is really the best answer. Rob DeLuca, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is not going to be some sort of walkover game because we're still talking about these same New York Giants who are one of the worst teams in the NFL in the past 4 years. They managed to find new ways to lose games as of lately. So it's just coming down to the fact that they have to get out of their own way and start playing they have to start playing Giants football. They got to get out of their own way and show up against a team that is still very talented, but very, very depleted. It is not even going to be remotely what they would have seen if they were healthy. But nonetheless, this is a game the Giants at this point have to win. And at this point, 1-2 after 3 weeks, that goes a long way in the NFC East.
And that's also for a division right now that no team is going to run away with right now. I mean, thankfully to the Falcons choking away a game, the Cowboys are 1-2. The Redskins are down to 1-2. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. We haven't hit.
He's telling us what they are going to be.
But yes, no. I mean, Washington's 1-1. Dallas is now 1-1. The Eagles and Giants are 0-2. We knew coming into the year that the NFC East was not going to be a runaway division. There was not one single team that any fan of any team in that division thought would run away with this division. It seems like it's going to be another year where the NFC East winner is probably going to be 9-7 or 8-8. But with regards to the Giants, I mean, I think this is really a Dave Gettleman on the hot seat, his future as Giants general manager game. I mean, this is a game that you've been responsible. You've been ahead of this team for the last 3 years. The Giants, their fan base, their owner at this point is fed up, and this is the game where you really need to show that you can come out and pull out a W against a team that is hurting very badly. I mean, granted, yes, the Giants are hurting badly as well, but at least their starting quarterback is in there. I mean, we didn't know much about Nick Mullins before the second half last weekend against the Jets. So this is a game the Giants have to have.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
I mean, if I can interject, Joey, look, this is just Ian said it perfectly. Everyone's fed up, and a lot of people, a lot of fans thought that Dave Gettleman should have gone with Shermer. They should have been fired together very clearly because it was clear the experiment failed, And the fact of the matter, and in my opinion too, firing one and not the other made next to no sense, because if in fact the Giants do find a way to lose this game, and again, we can't put that out of the ballpark. Ian and I have seen way too much over these past couple of years. So it's not out of the realm to lose this game. But yeah, if Dave Gettleman finds himself fired, you now can't, as Jim Mara, you cannot go out there and find the best GM in the game. You have to go out there and find a GM that'll work with Joe Judge, because you can't can Joe Judge after just 1 year. That's not fair to him. We brought him in for the specific purpose to turn this team around. We're not going to give up on him after 1 year, so it'll hinder the GM search should they need to replace Dave Gettleman, because you can't go out for the best. You have to go out with someone who will work with Joe Judge.
Well, I will say this. I will leave it off with this because I know we do have to move on, but it isn't impossible for a head coach in this league to be fired after 1 year. We saw it a few years ago with Steve Wilkes with the Arizona Cardinals before Cliff Kingsbury came in. So there is a precedent there. But in the last 7 years, the Giants have had, and I know as Giants fans in a city that also houses the Jets that haven't won a Super Bowl since 1969, that we really shouldn't complain all that much, considering I know for me in my lifetime, I don't really count the 86 Super Bowl because I was 2 years old, but I've seen 3 Super Bowls in my lifetime. So I know as a Giants fan, I really can't complain all too much. But in the last 7 years, 1 playoff appearance, obviously the loss to Green Bay, the infamous trip to Miami game, and then 6 losing seasons. So something's got to change something's got to change. Eli Manning is no longer there. The future is Daniel Jones. The future is Saquon Barkley. Something has to change soon. And I think this is Sunday's game against San Francisco is going to be a real telltale for the future of the Giants front office.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And just another statistic here: San Francisco is 4-20 without Jimmy Garoppolo as their starter since 2017. So. You're right. This is the game that the Giants should have. But again, as you pointed out last time, Ian, or just a few minutes ago, Ian, Devonta Freeman, he's going to be getting limited touches, and it's going to be the Wayne Gallman and Dion Lewis show, and no Sterling Shepard either. Their number one, I would say their number one wide receiver. Will not be playing due to an injury, and now it's just going to be Golden Tate. So,
well, I wouldn't call him their number one receiver. Their number one receiver right now is Darius Slayton. He is their number one wide receiver right now. Yeah. He's more their deep threat. I mean, I love Sterling Shepard. Don't get me wrong, but his biggest issue has always been health. You know, everybody. It's been this way since he was drafted out of the second round out of Oklahoma. Ever since he's joined the team after the draft, when the Giants drafted him, I should say. He's really been injury prone. Everybody's like, oh, this is going to be the year for Sterling Shepard. Well, we're still waiting. 3 years later, this is going to be with Evan Ingram. Okay, we're still waiting, and both of them are in contract years. So, I mean, obviously, I know the situation with Shepard's a little more difficult because you know the talent that you see on the field. Yeah. But Slayton's definitely the number one wide receiver right now. He's their biggest deep threat. He's definitely, I mean, talk about a 5th round steal in the draft 2 years ago. But Shepard, I mean, his biggest issue is health.
Yeah, I don't know if I said it here or not, but the depth charts will tell you that Sterling Shepard's our number one receiver. When you watch the games, you know that Daniel Jones's number one receiver is Darius Slayton. And you just see that their chemistry is off the charts good. Like from last year to what we've seen in the first 2 weeks, it's like it was like Eli Manning to Plexico Burress. It was unstoppable. It's borderline unstoppable.
That is a bold statement from a Giants fan right there to consider. That is that.
Thinking we're gonna win a game is bold enough. All right.
Okay. Well, we will have to see. It's going to be Sunday, 1:00. San Francisco and the New York Giants here or at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Let's keep it moving forward with another local team, and God help the New York Jets. But I'm gonna say that Adam Gase, that if he loses this game against the Colts, and then if I'm not mistaken, they also play Denver the following week. Most likely it will be without their number one quarterback, Drew Lock. If that's the case, if he loses both of those games, I'm going to say that he's got the axe, guys. There is just Sam Darnold, everything, his development, and I think that this team's development, it's gone actually backwards as opposed to forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily on the Darnold train. I was thrilled when the New York Giants did not draft him when they had the option between him and Barkley. But I also believe that this is definitely not in any way, shape, or form his fault.
No.
There's no doubt that the coaching out there is, and I'm sure Ian can attest to this, just being behind the scenes, beyond the word incompetent here. I mean, like, yeah, there's no way this man can finish the season if the Jets don't win a game soon. Absolutely zero way he can get out of the first. But before the bye week, they better find at least a win, if not two, by then, especially with their strength of schedule.
How about the fact that his owner has called him an offensive Adam Gase has called Adam Gase an offensive genius? Granted, 4 years ago with Ryan Tannehill, or is it 3 now? I'm losing track here. He's the head coach that leads the Dolphins back to the playoffs. Since then, the last 3 years, Adam Gase's offensive rankings in scoring: 28th his final year in Miami, 26th in the NFL in scoring his first year with the Jets, 31st last year with the Jets. So I'm not trying to say, hey, clearly Ryan Tannehill has found his footing a little bit in Tennessee. There's no question about that. AFC championship game appearance last year. The other side of it is how much was really expected from this Jets team coming into the year. I know weeks ago we discussed the trade of Jamal Adams and that this team was rebuilding, but and Sam Darnold still seemed like Sam Darnold is the future of the Jets. I do agree with Rob that, yes, you can't blame it all on Darnold. A lot of it right now is coaching. Clearly the philosophy that Gase is instilling in Darnold is not working. There's no cohesion there at all. The one bright spot so far 2 games in has been the Jets' first-round draft pick this year, Mekhi Becton. I mean, the film on him has looked great so far. He's out there pancaking guys. So far, kudos to Joe Douglas and Adam Gase right now so far in getting Becton right. There's still a long way to go. And also keep in mind, I mean, if they do lose to the Colts, yeah, I think Gase is probably he's already under a lot of scrutiny. I mean, I think there's a chance he's getting fed the pink slip if they lose to the Colts. But the Colts aren't a bad team. Yeah, they lost to Jacksonville week 1, but come back and put up a 28-11 hurting on the Vikings.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but look, I mean, the Vikings are not a team that you just roll over easy on either. So, and Phillip Rivers is still going to have his weapons there. I mean, I'm certainly not expecting the Jets to win Sunday, but also remember, you said they're going to be facing a Drew Lock-less Denver Broncos team on a short week. They're facing the Broncos on 4 nights after they play the Colts.
Yep.
So we already know this is a huge stretch for the Jets. I'm not expecting them to win on Sunday. So 0-3, we'll see, how the Johnsons feel about Adam Gase's future before we even get to next Thursday night. But it's hard to see how Gase maybe survives this weekend. But then again, Chris Johnson's called this man an offensive genius. So we'll see how long he stays on.
I don't know what he's watching, but all I could say is that if you're facing a Blake Bortles, most likely we're going to probably see Blake Bortles, or we could see maybe he might just be the backup the whole time in the absence of Drew Lock. But on that Thursday night, Ian, as you said, coming off of a short week I can't see him blasting past, and especially a team also without Cortland Sutton. And really all you need to do is just lock down 2 guys in Melvin Gordon and Noah Fant. That's what you have to do. And if they can't get that right, then I would say, you're fired. You're the weakest link. Goodbye. It's over, whatever it is. And that would be it. The Jets really, in my opinion, again, the way they did it, the way the Johnson family did it, where they had where they brought in Joe Douglas after they had Adam Gase hired. That was the whole thing. The remind me again, the general manager right before Joe Douglas was was, hold on just a second, folks. We have to just take a peek at that. Let me see.
I'm blanking out on it.
Oh, Mike McCagnon, right? Mike McCagnon was the general manager just before, and he was the one that brought in Adam Gase, and then all of a sudden, then they fire McCagnon, keep on Gase, and usually how it is exactly what Rob was saying earlier is that not a lot of teams fire their first-year head coach, but also we have to realize is that Adam Gase has been so bad. And also, Joe Douglas did not hire this head coach, and usually general manager and head coach go hand in hand. So that really goes with a lot of these sports, or with every professional sports team in America anyway. So a lot of weird things to come with the New York Jets, and I personally believe that he is gone when they lose to Indianapolis, but then when they get the kibosh against Denver as well.
Well, that's been my biggest issue with the whole Gase signing is you hit the nail on the head. Is that they fired McCagnon. Well, I should say McCagnon brought in Gase. Then they fired McCagnon a week before the draft, and basically gave Gase all the personnel decisions. So I don't know what was going through ownership's head. I don't know what they saw. I mean, the only thing I'm going off of, and I know I mentioned this maybe a month ago when I was on the show at this point, was that they liked him because he was Peyton Manning's quarterback coach in Denver. Peyton Manning at that point of his career did not need a quarterback coach.
No, Peyton Manning was his own man by the time he got to Denver.
He was coaching himself.
So, I don't understand what went into that. You're basing it off one playoff season with Miami. I mean, fine. You didn't want Mike McCarthy? Fine. You could have had Cliff Kingsbury. You could have had anybody else. I still would love to know what they saw in Adam Gase when they hired him. I mean, he's there now, so I digress. But I would just love to know what exactly they saw in him and that they liked.
I got nothing on that one. I really don't. It's mind-boggling.
To be completely honest, guys, the only thing that they could have seen in him was this. That's really it. And you can't. There's really, like I said, there's really nothing.
My all-time favorite is the taco following around Gase's eyes.
Right. Exactly. Like we said, we're looking at Adam Gase's eyeballs here. And, honestly, he's probably thinking the same thing. What the hell did I get myself into with the New York Jets? Because it's really not working out that well. And again, we cannot be blaming Sam Darnold either, because I personally believe that we have seen some good that has come from him. Obviously some bad, some funny moments as well where he had mono. But we can't, again, I don't want to call it funny, but again.
Yeah, I get I think we get it.
He was seeing ghosts in the end zone, but to Darnold's credit, I mean, I know the game was over already. I thought Darnold's, albeit it might have come against third string defenders, but I thought the last touchdown of the game that he threw it to Braxton Berrios on the run was one of the best throws I think I've seen Darnold make in his 3 years of his career with the Jets so far. But yes, you're right, Joey. We said it already that there's no cohesiveness at all between Gase's coaching philosophy and the way Darnold plays. So, but the problem you're running into now is Darnold is now completing year 3. I don't know what their plans are come after the season if the Jets continue on this trend, if Trevor Lawrence is in the works. But if he's not, Darnold's got only one more year left on his rookie deal. So he hasn't shown you whether or not the coach has been the right coach, hasn't shown you anything yet to give him big quarterback money. So are they planning on, if this year turns out to be a wash, which it certainly seems like it's going to be, do they plan on paying him going into next season? Is Darnold going to hold out? I mean, I don't think there's much to hold out for. I don't think he's shown enough to say, I have the right to hold out. I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the game.
No.
What we know right now is not true. So I don't know where they go from there, because in 2021, it's going to be the final year of his rookie deal. So a lot of big decisions coming for the Jets front office after this season, especially because it seems like it's a season that's not lost yet, but certainly on its way.
Well, it's very funny that you bring up certain teams that are on their way to a losing season, because the Las Vegas Raiders, fellas, are 2-0. They are 2-0, and yes, we did say the Las Vegas Raiders. They opened up their new building, Allegiant Stadium, just right across the street or right across the I-5 over there in Vegas, right on the Strip. And, let me tell you something, guys. Not only is that building gorgeous, but are they for real? They beat the Saints on Monday night. Is it too early to tell is the biggest question.
Well, I think the next few weeks, Joey, are certainly going to tell the tale for the Raiders right now. I mean, it's hard not to like the outlook of what you're seeing. If you're John Gruden, if you're Mike Mayock, and you're looking at your offensive pieces on the field, it's hard not to like what you're seeing. First week at Carolina, Josh Jacobs runs for 3 touchdowns. Monday night against the Saints, Derek Carr throws for 3 touchdowns. Your tight end of the future, Darren Waller, 105 yards receiving and a touchdown. So it's hard not to like what you're seeing offensively right now from I was about to call them the Oakland Raiders, from the Las Vegas Raiders. Listen, I certainly didn't expect them to be 2-0 after Monday night, but you have to like the outlook so far. But I think the next 4 weeks is going to be very, very telling. From a Vegas sportsbook side, I love the fact that I think it's 5.5 or 6.5 points that the Raiders are getting in Foxborough on Sunday afternoon. I think is great. Yes. After that, they're going to be home for Buffalo. Then they're in Kansas City, and then they're home for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So we're going to get a real crystal clear picture of what's going on with the Las Vegas Raiders by week 6, if not soon.
It's really crazy, guys, to see. Also, the last time that these two teams met in the regular season, Patriots won 33-8 in Oakland. That was in the Coliseum, November 19th, 2017. And also right now, guys, their defense is ranked 25th out of 32. But again, there are these players such as Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. And hey, I will tell you one thing, guys. This is another thing I want to throw out here. Is it me, or did Nelson Aguilar look like he can actually catch the football out in Las Vegas? Rob DeLuca, I got to ask you that question.
I mean, hey, maybe he just needed a better quarterback.
Yeah, hey,
needed a better quarterback.
Well,
wow, shots fired, huh? Shots fired.
We'll get there in just a minute. But, Rob, your thoughts on the Las Vegas Raiders. I was about to say Oakland.
I mean, that'll take some getting used to. But right. For Vegas, I mean, this is fantastic. This is more than ideal for the people of Las Vegas. They're like, they're excited they're getting an NFL team, but at the same time, you think back, it's like, it's the Oakland Raiders. Oh no, and everything they've done the past couple of years, which is a whole lot of nothing. So it's like, what are they going to expect to start off 2-0? And honestly, sometimes you just have that adrenaline of being in a new place, I would say new atmosphere, even though they've been fanless games. Maybe that's it. The pressure of no crowd, the no pressure and no crowd thing is probably to their advantage, maybe. But on the other hand, just the way they're playing, they're playing as a team. They're playing their style of football. They made the Saints play. I almost said Oakland Raider football myself, but Las Vegas Raider football. Mm-hmm. They are playing their game. But as Ian said, the big test is definitely the next month. By the end of week 6, we will see if they are for real or not, and it definitely starts in Foxborough on Sunday.
And don't forget also, guys, too, Michael Thomas was not playing either for the Saints. There were some talks and some rumblings that should the Saints be scared that Emmanuel Sanders is starting quite slowly. But again, he's brand new to the system. And also he barely got any reps in preseason. But then again, as I say preseason, there was no preseason. So it's so difficult to say that. And also the same goes with Traquan Smith as well, who is now looking to potentially jump over Emmanuel Sanders in that depth chart if we want to, when Michael Thomas does return to potentially be that number 2. But we'll see what happens. There's a ton of time left, and also even though we continuously see the same stat every year of each team that starts 0-2, obviously the Saints are 1-1. They're 1-1, yes. But for a team that sometimes starts 0-2, The chances of them making the playoffs are in like 25, 26 percentile.
Actually less, Joey, 12.5%.
12 points, so it was half of that. So there's like I said, there's a lot of teams there that do include the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get to them in a minute. The Houston Texans, the Giants, the Vikings, which is the next topic as well. The Carolina Panthers we knew already, and the same thing goes with Detroit as well. But again, we knew that they weren't going far either. So just one little quick thing about how Rob DeLuca said there was a possibility that Nelson Aguilar needed a new quarterback. Well, I don't know if this guy thinks if he thinks the same way, because listen, and we remember that. I don't know if Ian remembers that, but
no, I don't. So I was like,
well, that's okay. So there was a video about a year and a half ago when there was a baby that fell out of a burning building. And,
that's right.
And he was the one that said, "Oh yeah, they're dropping them, I think, or dropping like flies or whatever." And then he referenced Nelson Aguilar and dropping passes, but they were talking about dropping babies.
I remember that. And then didn't Nelson Aguilar like the next game go off of like 100 plus and a touchdown or something?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yes. He went off of that, and then he also tried to find that guy and give him a lot of memorabilia and also tickets to the next game as well. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so a lot of good stuff there, and a lot of good comedy, if you will, as we like to integrate that into our show. But let's keep moving forward here. We spoke about the Vegas Raiders, and again, basically, what the final answer for me is that it's too early to tell to see if the Raiders are for real. There's a big test coming up between weeks 3 and 6, and we'll see what happens down there. But another struggling team that we can talk about is the aforementioned Houston Texans. And really, right now, guys, looks like DeAndre Hopkins-less Texans is starting to affect Bill O'Brien and his club. Let's hear about your thoughts on what we could see from Houston.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting one based just on everything that happened with them in the off season. This is kind of a coin flip year for Houston because they've got an interesting schedule. The vibe's not the same, especially because it's 2020.
And David Johnson looks like utter garbage.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Went up against the Ravens defense week 2, so let's put that into perspective also. But go ahead.
On what I don't know what they were thinking in trading DeAndre Hopkins in the first place. I mean,
Money.
What? The only question I thought was why. I mean, I get David Johnson; he's a great back, but like DeAndre Hopkins, arguably a top 5 receiver in this league. So
arguably top 3 as well. But also David Johnson, too, has not been able to stay healthy. They're ranked 30th in rushing right now. Their offense looks really ice cold, and they're ranked 24th out of 32 teams. Don't get me wrong. There's only one bright spot here, and it's Deshaun Watson. That's really it. And what can he do? How can he utilize these new receivers? Will Fuller stay healthy the whole time? You have Kenny Stills, you have Randall Cobb, you have Brandon Cooks. Ian, your thoughts on Houston, because it's not looking good, and they face another humongous test, the 3rd-ranked defense in the entire NFL through week 3, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm actually going to disagree with you, Joey, and I'll tell you why. I'm not so sure Deshaun Watson's really been the bright spot so far for that team. I don't think he's really actually stepped up to into the limelight that he really needs to. The Texans right now,
following his extension as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans right now are bottom 10 in the National Football League in total offense, first downs, and 3rd down conversion percentage. And I really want to highlight 3rd down conversion percentage because, fine, you want to say David Johnson had a bad second game? Yes, he did. I mean, he went up against one of the most vaunted defenses in the entire NFL in the Baltimore Ravens. But with Deshaun, I mean, 3rd down conversions. I mean, what? 90% of the time, the ball is in the quarterback's hand on 3rd down to try and move the chains. So you're bottom 10 in those 3 categories. You're bottom 5 in the AFC in all 3 of those categories. And then on top of that, Deshaun has yet to eclipse 300 passing yards either of his first 2 games since the extension as well, Joey. So it begs the question, and to to belabor the point with regards to DeAndre Hopkins, believe it or not, the Texans at the end of last year were ranked 15th in the National Football League in passing. This year so far through 2 games, they're 18th. So how much? I mean, yes. Does DeAndre's presence on the field change the way opposing defenses are looking at that offense right now? Yes, there's no question about it. But from a standpoint of the passing game, the rankings are almost the same than what they were last year. The question is to me, and this is why I disagree with you, Joey, is that DeAndre Hopkins the last 2 years has really been that security blanket for Deshaun Watson. So, will it be Will Fuller? Will it be Kiki Kuti? Who's going to be the receiver that steps up? But I want to see Deshaun Watson start to become the player that his receivers rely upon, rather than Deshaun relying on his number 1 or number 2 wide receiver to come up with the big play. The security blanket's no longer there, and clearly their rankings right now in the NFL in terms of offense and yardage and third down conversions and first downs, a lot of it to me is leaning more on the fact that Deshaun Watson is not performing where he needs to be right now.
So even though that the entire receiving core is basically different, minus the 2 of Fuller and Kuti, you still believe that even though that his security blanket is gone, you truly believe that he can perform better, even though that there's no chemistry with no preseason.
I'm not saying better. I'm saying I think he could still perform to par to where he was last year. I don't think that there's a reason that we've seen. I mean, I know everybody gets compared to Brady because Brady is Brady, or you want to compare them to Montana because they got the best out of the players around them. But with regards to Deshaun Watson, yeah, I think he can at least stay on course from where he was last year without DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, I do believe that. I do believe that Brandon Cooks could become can be that number 1, if not that complimentary number 2 receiver. We saw him do it with the Rams. We saw him do it. We saw him do it with the Saints. There's no reason why he can't be doing it with the Texans. I mean, last week against Baltimore, he was their leading receiver with just under 100 yards receiving. So there's no reason to me right now. Deshaun Watson's an incredible athlete. He should be making the most out of the situation without DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not saying Hopkins is the make or break difference for the Houston Texans. We know how big of a player he is, and we see how much he's contributing right now to the Arizona Cardinals offense. But I don't think that there's a reason, when the passing yards are just about the same, why Deshaun Watson should be struggling the way he is.
Rob DeLuca, your final thoughts on Deshaun Watson, and do you agree with Ian there?
I mean, yeah, no, he's certainly not what he can be. We all know what he can be. He's what he signed. He is what that contract says he is, but he is certainly not performing to that right now. He's definitely got a lot of room for improvement, but of course, I do firmly believe he will get to that point eventually. There's no doubt in my mind that this was a bad contract. There's no doubt in my mind that this was a good contract. Excuse me. He deserves every penny of it, and he will show that on the football field. This is a little hiccup, I would call it. So then right now, going back to the point where he can be better, or now is his time to step up, if you will. 25 of 36, 275 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick against Baltimore. They lost 33-16 again against one of the top defenses in the entire league. The question does say is this a slump because, again, similar to what we were talking about earlier, where there was no preseason, or is it where just because he signed this deal, he should be coming out and playing like the way that he got paid? Or is he human and is he hitting a slump? Or is he not getting is he not clicking with these receivers? Again, aside from Brandon Cooks, these two can't do it alone. You have to also look at David Johnson, 11 carries for 34 yards. Listen, for as good as he's supposed to be, as good as advertised, 34 yards and 11 carries, guys. That's 3 yards. That's 3 yards per carry. Yeah.
Again, Joey, he went up. I think he's going to struggle again this week against Pittsburgh just because Pittsburgh's defense against the run is so good. Houston outgained their first two opponents. If you look at the team stats, Houston outgained Kansas City and Baltimore in both games through the air. So yeah. I'm struggling to understand then what Deshaun Watson's excuse is. Okay. I think to your point, Joey, I think, yes, it's a little bit of A, it's a little bit of B, but I don't see whether or not the defense is not respecting the passing game, the rating, everything is right there. It's not, like I said, I think David Johnson's going to struggle this week, but I think he will get going. I'm not saying that Deshaun is not performing because he finally got his contract. I'm not saying that Deshaun's not performing because he's not clicking with his receivers. But we all know that when you get paid like a big time quarterback, they expect big time results. And week one, you look back at his numbers, and generally you would look at his numbers and be like, wow, his numbers were pretty good. He was efficient. Yeah, he was efficient. But keep in mind, both of his touchdowns, I believe, his passing touchdown and his rushing touchdown, I think he threw for 2 touchdowns, all came in garbage time. The game was over on opening night before Watson got going. Well, at that point, Kansas City is just giving up completions over the middle to run clock. And the game was over at that point. So we need to be putting a lot more stake into what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Yes, he's being efficient, but at the same time, he's not performing anywhere close to what we've seen the last 2 years. And teams need to make adjustments when they lose their star number one wide receiver, which they did actually via trade. So they actually traded him away. But when you pay Deshaun Watson like a big-time quarterback, you need to put up big-time results, and he's not doing that right now.
Looking now towards or going a little bit farther west to bring back to what we were talking about with the San Francisco 49ers, guys. Even though that they will be playing the New York Giants, I want to lean towards now the San Francisco side of things. Guys, are they in trouble with all of these injuries? Is this a team that could potentially be looking at, especially in a stacked NFC West team that is arguably the best division in football? And in my opinion, it is. There's no argument to be made. This team at any point in time could finish in dead last, which who knows? It could be 8-8, it could be 9-7, it could be 10-6. We don't know. But again, you lose your starting QB, you lose your starting running back, your wide receiver is gone, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. Let's not forget he was also out, and he's also going to be out, I believe, this week. So again, there's starters left and right that either are on the short-term injured reserve or that have been placed on the long-term injured reserve. Guys, what needs to happen with San Francisco in order for them to stay afloat?
I wasn't high on the 49ers after the Super Bowl. Honestly, I had major question marks. Analysts were already putting the 49ers back in the Super Bowl just because of the fact of how impressive they were in the postseason last year leading up to the Super Bowl. I thought teams were going to put a lot more pressure before he got hurt, obviously, on Jimmy Garoppolo, because if you remember last year in the postseason, a lot of what they relied on was their running game. A lot of it was Raheem Mostert. Yeah. Like if you look at some of the stats from the divisional round, the NFC Championship game, a lot of it was off of the play of Raheem Mostert. And Jimmy Garoppolo, week 1 against Arizona, he was good. He wasn't great. He threw for 259 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was what I wanted to see with the 49ers before they accumulated all of these injuries, was what was Jimmy Garoppolo going to do when teams now finally started watching the tape on the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan's game plan and said, this is how we need to game plan for the 49ers in the future. And we need to start putting more pressure on the back of Jimmy Garoppolo rather than thinking Garoppolo is going to throw for 300 plus every game and Raheem Mostert's going to run the ball down our throats. So I think there's certainly a valid reason as to why the Cardinals beat them in week 1. I think the Cardinals are a better team right now than the 49ers. Obviously, health has a lot to do with that now too. But I had a lot of question marks. To kind of wrap it up, I had a lot of question marks coming in about San Francisco and whether or not Garoppolo would really be able to take the mantle forward and really be the franchise quarterback that they need him to be. It's going to be a while before we see it again, but I wasn't confident after week 1.
Yeah, look, After what we saw in the Super Bowl, you definitely have questions. And look, this is gonna hurt, especially on the defensive side. They lost their best player on arguably the entire team for the entire year, and they don't have other key weapons. And you know what? I really do look. Put them against somebody that's not the New York Giants without all of these weapons, and they will more than likely
get slaughtered,
get killed. Absolutely, yeah. Put them against the Chiefs now, and let's see what happens. Like with these people out here, let's see what happens. Take the Chiefs in the spread every single time.
Well, you remember a big part of why the 49ers lost the Super Bowl last year was because the Chiefs, aside from Mahomes being Mahomes, exploited the 49ers and took away the running game and forced Garoppolo to throw the ball. I mean, the first half, Garoppolo had nothing going at all. Thankfully, the game was still close, and really the Chiefs pulled away in the fourth quarter. But there was nothing in the Super Bowl that made me feel confident and said, you know what, in 2020, and this is when we actually thought there was going to be no pandemic and that fans would still be in the stadium come September and we'd have preseason games.
Yeah.
I didn't feel confident about the 49ers after the Super Bowl at all.
No.
Yeah, it's again, we look at now, I think who did they just sign? They just signed Mohamed Sanu, and the reason why is because of that chemistry that Kyle Shanahan had with him down in Atlanta. It's really not a good situation. Deebo Samuel is out till week 5, as we were saying. Nick Bosa was hurt. Richard Sherman is done. There's not, and they also traded, which might really, I don't want to say it's going to come back to bite them, but it could at some point with DeForest Buckner being traded out to Indianapolis. He might just be, I don't think he would have been the X factor or the difference maker, but when we look at all these injuries and we're starting to see the second string offense and defense take on the New York Giants first string on both sides, he could have been a potential run stopper. He could have been something or another that could have potentially stopped a third down or forced or put pressure on Daniel Jones this upcoming weekend. We don't know. But again, I don't want to revisit that trade because I still think that was a fantastic one amidst all the injuries. And I think that the way it is, with a stacked NFC West division, this team could conceivably finish dead last. And again, dead last could still mean 8-8 or 9-7, whatever. This team is in big trouble. If they cannot get their weapons back one by one. And it needs to start with Jimmy Garoppolo. It has to. Even though, as Ian did say, Raheem Mostert, where they are a run-first team, they were exploited by the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That is their bread and butter. But they need something. They need a little bit of George Kittle. Excuse me. They need a little bit of him back. Need a little bit of Deebo Samuel back because he looked very good last year in his rookie year. Was it a flash in the pan? Time will only tell with that team. Two more things here on the NFL side. Atlanta blowing a massive lead, guys, to Dallas. They were up by, I think it was like 20 points they were up. And why is Dan Quinn still employed is what really I want to know, along with the rest of all of our viewers. Why is he still here?
I mean, because they score a lot. I don't know. The
problem is that they give up however many points to.
That's just the problem. Matt Ryan is so good. I feel so terrible for him because he really it's him and Julio Jones up there. It was, but at some point it gets at some point it gets old, and at some point things need to be changed. And oh boy, do things need to be changed in Atlanta, because I could not believe that game was over. Dallas was dead. All you had to do was recover an onside kick.
That's it.
You watched it, and you watch it roll 10, and you watch it roll the 10 yards, as opposed to just picking it up early when you can touch it. Dallas can't. Go for the ball. And instead you let it roll, and Dallas is able to dive right on it. Sometimes, it's not good to nitpick, but, it's the little things that'll cost you big games, and that's what we just saw in it with Atlanta.
The only piece I love so much about Dallas actually winning the game is the fact that Jerry Jones is celebrating in his suite and thinks actually that his team might actually still be good. That's what I love more than anything, is the fact that maybe he forgot his team was trailing by like 18 points in the fourth quarter. But nevertheless, I mean, I agree with Rob. I don't have too much to add to what he said with regards to the Falcons. I mean, right now they still do have a top 10 offense in the league. A lot of that is built off the fact that Calvin Ridley is really overtaking the number one role, what it feels like right now, from Julio Jones, just on how often he's being used in that game plan. But they've also allowed the most points in the NFL. And Dan Quinn came over, remember, as a defensive coordinator from Seattle. So after they had won the Super Bowl. So I think there's a lot of question marks regarding Dan Quinn's future. I don't think Arthur Blank, the Falcons owner, has referred to I should say Dan Quinn as an offensive genius, like Chris Johnson has referred to Adam Gase. But I would certainly put them in very I would certainly put them in very similar boats. And I think the Falcons have a very winnable game against probably one of the weaker 2-0 teams right now in football, in the Chicago Bears this weekend. I think this is a game they could win this week. They're home against the Bears. I'm not thrilled with what I've seen so far from Chicago. They're also banged up. Allen Robinson wants out. I'm not so sure even if David Montgomery is going to play this weekend. So Trubisky's, did not have a good second half against the Giants. So there's no reason to think that maybe why the Falcons can't pull a win out in Atlanta this weekend to keep Dan Quinn's job.
It's true, because again, we look at what Mitchell Trubisky has done in his first two games right now, and you said it, Ian, definitely a weaker 2-0 team. But right now, Mitchell Trubisky is playing right now for his job as well, because he has a Super Bowl MVP sitting right behind him, waiting to go into a playbook that he is fairly familiar with. And Mitchell Trubisky is sitting there hanging by a thread and coming back from 17-0 deficit. So, hey, listen, it can happen. And
are we really going to talk, Joey, about how Nick Foles won the MVP on a play called the Philly Special? Is that
throwing? You mean the play that should have been flagged for illegal formation? Yeah.
I see the salt. I hear the salt. I hear it all.
Well, there really shouldn't be too much salt. Both our teams are horrible. So
what are we worried about here?
And you know what? And it's very funny that we bring up this Eagles team, because that actually brings us into the next part. And the Minnesota Vikings both, and also the Philadelphia Eagles, they're both 0-2 right now. And guys, really right now, again, there was so much talk once Yannick Ngakoue was traded from Jacksonville to Minnesota that this team could potentially again compete with Green Bay and potentially overtake them as the NFC North champions. They made it in as a wild card last year. They upset New Orleans last year. They did really well in the playoffs. Kirk Cousins finally got, I think that was his first playoff victory in Minnesota, but I think that was his first ever playoff.
Yep.
Well, right. So right now they're 0-2, and Kirk Cousins is not looking too hot. Again, Stephon Diggs is not in Minnesota. Adam Thielen is now the new number one. But how much blame can we put on Kirk Cousins? But how about the defensive side of things, guys? Really not looking too hot on that side of the football either.
No, not at all. I'm shocked. Between an all-pro defensive end and Danielle Hunter, and then you have Yannick Ngakoue on the other side. And this is a team that is struggling to get to the opposing quarterback 2 weeks in. I think if you want to go back to the whole discussion with DeAndre Hopkins, I think the team that's missing their number one wide receiver the most right now is Minnesota.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs stretched the field for you and created opportunities for Adam Thielen, who's a slot receiver and a possession receiver. So I think if there's any team that's really missing their deep threat, certainly more than Houston to me, is Minnesota. I actually was in the offseason was the other way around. I'm like, Houston is going to miss DeAndre Hopkins terribly. And where are they going to go from there? And then, that's a great move. Send Stephon Diggs to Minnesota. I'm sorry, send Stephon Diggs to Buffalo. They'll be fine with Adam Thielen. It's been the other way around. So I think that's been a huge factor for them. And I think that's been a big reason for their offensive struggles. I mean, Dalvin Cook's still running the ball efficiently well, but with respect to their receiving game right now, I mean, Thielen had a good game last week, but 28-11 to the Colts, who just allowed 3 touchdowns week 1 to Gardner Minshew is just mind-blowing. So I was shocked when I saw that result. And Minnesota's 0-2 and right now very much in the rearview mirror because they lost to Green Bay week 1. So it's pretty much like they're 3 games out of first right now.
Yeah, absolutely. DeLuca, your thoughts on Minnesota?
Minnesota? I mean, look, this defense is non-existent, first of all. I don't know where that came from. But, yeah, I mean, look, they had a good offensive game week 1. They had a terrible offensive game week 2. But the defense is certainly their biggest problem because they can't stop giving up points right now. It's the same. It's like the same thing with Atlanta on that part. It's like you got to find a way to get some stops here and there. But also at the same time, going back to the offense, look, all 3 of us have seen this guy before. We know what this man can and can't do, and a lot of it is definitely can't. All right, Kirk Cousins. Look, Minnesota. For any Vikings fans listening, let me tell you right now, this was never, ever your answer. You had such a great deal with Case Keenum, and you blew it.
Wow.
You absolutely blew it.
Hold on a second. Listen, you're all right, but was Case Keenum also a
No, that's the thing. Neither of them are good. Not that either of them are good quarterbacks, but Case Keenum is miles better than Kirk Cousins.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Rob.
I don't think Kirk Cousins, and trust me, I am very much a skeptic of Kirk Cousins. And if you know me longer enough, you'll know why I'm such a big skeptic of Kirk Cousins. But I don't think Kirk Cousins deserved the money that he got. Do I think he's a above average quarterback? Yes. Do I think he's better than Case Keenum? Yes. I think Case Keenum thrived in Pat Shurmur's offensive game plan. Right. Okay. Kirk Cousins is better than Case Keenum. I'm sorry, Rob. That's where I'm going to disagree with you. However, he belongs pretty much in the conversation for me right now, even though Kirk Cousins hasn't won a Super Bowl, as Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco never, to me, deserved a cent of the post Super Bowl win contract that he received. He never lived up to a dime of it. Okay, he got paid as one of the best quarterbacks in football, and I'm not even so sure at that time he was even a top 10 quarterback. It was a lot of his defense that was really winning games. And then on top of that, Kirk Cousins kind of, to me, falls perfectly in line with that. Yes, he's an above average quarterback. He throws for a lot of yards, but he also throws for a lot of picks. Is he efficient? Yes, like I said, but there was no way. Like, he's better than Case Keenum, so I disagree with you there, Rob. But he's not.
Yeah, to me, it was
at all.
Look, I don't think either of them are great quarterbacks per se, but I do feel just at the time, Case Keenum such a better fit for Minnesota.
I think hindsight's 2020, Robin. I'm going to tell you why. Because remember, Pat Shurmur left to coach the Giants.
Right.
This is a miracle. So I would have liked to see in Leslie Frazier's offense how this team would have operated with Case Keenum as their quarterback. Because I'm sure that's how Vikings fans felt after the Minnesota Miracle. Be like, sign this guy. This is the future of our offense. We're going to win a Super Bowl with Case Keenum, with this offense, with this foundation that we have in Minnesota. I still don't think it was the wrong move to sign Cousins. You knew Cousins was going to get big money, but there was no way he deserved that kind of money. It's just the way the NFL works. He was coming off a good final year in Washington. The salary cap was increased, so there's a new highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and at that time it turned out to be Kirk Cousins.
And do not forget,
by no means was he worth that. By no means was he worth those dollars.
Do not forget, Ian. It was also the highest paid guaranteed contract for a quarterback.
Wasn't it fully guaranteed?
Yes. Highest guaranteed money in the entire NFL and its history. Beyond.
Yeah.
Question mark. Why? I mean, hey, listen, you put all that faith in, and you think to yourself, okay, well, this guy can really put us over the top. Has he? No, he has not. He won you one playoff game. That's what you're paying $84 million guaranteed. And on top of it, too, last year, he also got an extension as well. Because he won one game, he got an extension. Don't forget that, fellas. And
I was actually in the NFC in the NFC wildcard game last year against the Saints. I actually liked Minnesota in that game. I don't know why, but something to me said, I think the Vikings are actually going to win this game, and go figure they won. But the history was definitely against the Vikings going into that game. I actually liked them. Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. And right now, again, to see that they're 0-2, this is their time to win. Really a quick lightning round here, guys. Not even lightning round, lightning question. Is Mike Zimmer's job on the line if they were to lose on Sunday?
No.
Just quickly, to keep it quick, no.
Okay. Moving forward now with and I also say no as well. And who came up with that question? That guy's an idiot. And again,
get off your format, Joey. Oh, okay.
That is what people look right when people heard me ask that question. That's what they looked like. Not good there. My Philadelphia Eagles look like utter garbage. They're not making the playoffs. They're not doing anything. And on top of it, they're also going to be $60 million over the salary cap next year. Time to blow it up, yes or no?
No. And I'm going to tell you why. And I actually disagree with you in the fact that I still think they could actually win the division. And I'm going to tell you why. No one is, and we said this at the top of the discussion with regards to the NFC East, no one is running away with that division.
He's right.
My opinion, I will tell you this as an Eagles fan, to Joey, who's an Eagles fan. If they lose this weekend to Cincinnati, my opinion might change after this weekend. If they lose to the Bengals, which is a great game for them to turn things around, and they're getting healthy. So obviously, Miles Sanders played week 2. They're getting a couple of their pass rushers back, a couple of their offensive linemen back.
Jalen Reagor's also out because of a thumb injury.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, listen, I'm still not sold on the fact that the Eagles still can't win this division. I'm not impressed with the Cowboys, the Washington football team.
Look,
I still think they'll be the cellar dwelling team at the end of the year. I'm not. Yep, there's Wario.
There it is.
Yep. Again, I liked the Eagles over. I mean, I know last year everybody was low on the Eagles, and understandably so. They definitely did not perform to expectation, but no one is running away with this division, Joey. And I think for the Eagles, they have a perfect – if they lose this weekend, I think you blow it up, and then you start questioning things with Carson Wentz. But if they're 1-2 and they've got a real tough stretch coming up after that, where I think they've got to play the Ravens and I think the Cowboys, whoever is on their schedule coming up, I think that they're in a perfect position right now to start to right this.
Yeah, and there is – it's definitely not time right now. There is a huge – and I mean monumental chance that the entire NFC East is 1-2 after this weekend. The entire division is 1-2, and it is anybody's division at this rate. That's what's scary about the NFC East, is that even as a Giants fan, with how bad they have been and how they have hurt me over the past couple of years, they were literally in the division race until double-digit weeks, which was scary. Like, obviously they were never going to be, but like, in terms of technicalities, they were right there. They were never really that far out of it because nobody in this division does better than 10-6 anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you one thing. I'm going to disagree with the two of you, and the reason why is because you're $60 million over next year. Zach Ertz and Howie Roseman had a little bit of a tiff just a few weeks ago. Carson Wentz does not look like he can scramble out of the pocket and be the mobile quarterback that he once was back in 2017. And also on top of it, you're getting guys that are much older: Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, Jason Peters, Hall of Fame left tackle. Your only bright spot guys that we're starting to see, or that I could see right now, is Darius Slay, who really is he's starting to look like he's starting to look pretty good, and we don't know. I don't want to call him Asante Samuel, now, but
Joey, I'll ask you this. I got to ask you this. If you think it's time to blow it up, does that mean it's Jalen Hurts time?
I do believe You know why? I do believe, and the reason why is because what I've seen the first 2 weeks from Carson Wentz has been absolutely abysmal. I personally believe that if he can't get back on track, let's not forget also his chemistry with Alshon Jeffrey is not great either, because that was more of a Nick Foles type of guy.
I personally feel like Carson Wentz can't properly communicate or work with anybody other on that receiving core other than Zach Ertz.
Right, and the problem is that most likely, guys, he's probably going to lose him next year, because there has to be, and also, again, this is pre-COVID, okay? So we don't know what the new cap is going to look like next year.
Could be worse.
The Eagles could be in way bigger trouble as just opposed to $60 million over the cap. They could also be, who knows, if it goes down $20 million, it could be $80 million. Could just be getting even worse. So there are big questions here, and to get paid $34 million, to get paid like a top 5 quarterback, and you're looking like a pocket passer, and you are supposed to be that mobile guy that's supposed to create plays, create havoc over there, and that offensive line, you pay a lot of money for both lines there. Especially the offensive line to protect you. Right now, I think these injuries that he's had in the past are starting to catch up to him, and it's really, really not looking good. Ian, I usually, especially when it comes to the Eagles, I usually talk good. You usually, or any Giants fan would talk bad, but at this point in time, I think I'm going to have to disagree with the two of you as the Eagles fan, because I can't see it getting any better. And the way Joe Burrow has looked, the one bright spot for the Eagles this weekend is that Geno Atkins will not be playing. Other than that, I think Joe Burrow could really make mincemeat out of this team.
I mean, there's nothing I would love to see more than for that to happen. But I got to be honest, I don't see it happening. There's definitely look. Joe Burrow has been decent so far in the first 2 weeks. But I wouldn't say he's played like a number 1 overall pick yet. He obviously very well could get there. But I still think that this is still the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're really not, at least this year, they're still not going anywhere.
Recap of last night, Dolphins-Jaguars, guys. Each of a game, Gardner Minshew looked like a lock, and Brian Fitzmagic looked really, really good. Ian Schraier, our final topic in the NFL this week.
Fitz, man, top 10 in the league, completion percentage, passing touchdowns, and quarterback rating. I'll leave it at that. I just can't believe it.
He is literally Fitz magic. He's something else. I mean, granted, the game itself was your typical Thursday night nap, but I mean, Thursday night football is really dying a slow, painful death if we're being serious. But the game overall was fine. I made some money off the Dolphins, so that we'll always take that. So just typical.
Must be nice when someone lives in New Jersey and can just do that every single night if they so choose, huh?
I love it. It's fantastic.
He's so lucky. Guys, as of 4:50 p.m., just a couple of hours ago, right now the Yankees are slated to play the Chicago White Sox in Chicago. If the playoffs were to end just 3 hours, or if the regular season was to end just a couple hours ago, right now it's supposed to be 1 versus 8, Tampa versus Toronto, Minnesota versus Cleveland, 2 versus 7. Cleveland also just came off of a 4-game sweep against the aforementioned White Sox. The 3 versus 6, Oakland and Houston, the American League, the National League, Dodgers, the 1 seed against the 8 seed Giants. 2 versus 7, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Chicago versus Miami, 3 versus 6, the Cubbies, that is, and the 4 versus 5, which I think will most likely be the best matchup, San Diego and St. Louis. Guys, what are we looking for in the final 3 days? We'll consider today a day, so 3 days, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Of the regular season. Ian, start with you, as you're a Mets fan, and we're looking forward to Steve Cohen.
Oh, I can't wait. But with regards to the final 3 days, I mean, still final 3 seeds in the National League, still waiting to be decided. Games already going off. You have Philly only 1 game back of the Marlins. But neither team has an easy road. I mean, the Yankees right now are still jostling for position. They've got a 3-game series with the Marlins. The Phillies right now are playing the Rays, who just locked up the American League East. You have Milwaukee, who's only 1 game back of the Giants for the number 8 seed, 1.5 games back of the Reds for the 7. It's going to be a great final weekend. And some of these teams really don't have easy games on tap. I mean, the Reds are playing the Twins right now, who I think we mentioned are the number 2 team right now in the AL postseason race. Yeah. Milwaukee's right now in the thick of a doubleheader right now against the Cardinals in Game 1. I think they're up 3-0. The Brewers are. Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to the most at this point. I mean, in terms of a conclusion to the regular season, because it seems like the American League, as we mentioned last week, is officially locked up. With the exception of seeding at this point. Toronto locked up the 8th spot, and they're actually beating the Orioles right now. 6-0. Yeah. So with regards to the final 3 days, that's what I'm really looking forward to. The team I really think is going to actually come out of the woodwork and actually grab a postseason spot is Milwaukee. I mean, they have been by far and away the biggest disappointment in the National League this season, even albeit it's a shortened season. I still think they've been a huge disappointment. This is a team that coming into the year was expected to be one of the leading teams in terms of hitting. In fact, they entered tonight only hitting .225 as a team. They have one of the worst strikeout rates of any team in baseball. So I think they're gonna turn it around. I think it's got to happen at some point. There's no way that Christian Yelich can still be hitting .205. I just think that they're going to find a way to back into the playoffs. I know Corbin Barnes right now is on the shelf with some back discomfort, but I think they're going to find a way to get in. They're only a game back, as I said, of San Francisco for the number 8 spot, and I think they're actually going to make some magic if they get in, I should say, come next week.
Yeah. Now, to finalize that, Ian, who do you believe Milwaukee will overtake?
Would I be so crazy as to say it could be the LA Dodgers? I mean, the Cubs aren't anything impressive either. I mean, if you look actually at the Cubs probably at the start of the season were probably considered the best team in baseball and then hit such a huge tailspin. The Dodgers have yet to prove it when it matters most. And listen, the Brewers are not a team to sleep on. I'm not saying that the Brewers are going to come out as an 8 seed and upset the Dodgers as a 1 seed, but I think that they could create a lot of noise. I think that they're just talented from a hitting perspective. They have one of the best closers in baseball in Josh Hader, who's had a disappointing year. At some point, I think the Brewers just have to turn it around, and what better time than if they make the playoffs?
Also, that actually wasn't the question, but that was phenomenal. I meant to say, which team will they overtake to get into the postseason?
No, I'm sorry.
Honestly, no, that is a fantastic answer.
I mean, it was great.
I appreciate the analysis.
And not only that, too, I think that is you know what? That's a perfect question now for Rob and myself. Go ahead.
You want me to continue, or?
Yeah, I want
okay.
either Cincinnati or San
If I had to guess at this point, I'd probably say San Francisco over Cincinnati. But then again, Cincinnati's got a tough road to finish 3 games with the Twins. I would not be surprised to see them overtake Cincinnati. I know a lot of teams, a lot of analysts are pretty high right now on the Reds because they're finally finding their hitting, their bullpen.
They were supposed to be something.
Yeah, I mean, they were dead in the water. I mean, their bullpen has dropped a full point off their ERA, so they are performing well at the right time. They've got an NL Cy Young favorite right now in Trevor Bauer. Luis Castillo, I think, has a top 10 strikeout rate in all of Major League Baseball. So it's hard right now to go against the Reds because they're hot, but I think they're also running into a really hot team right now with the Twins. So I think it's, we'll see what happens tonight and over the next couple of days. Right now, I'm going to say San Francisco simply because their hitting is so hot and cold, and the Reds are hot right now. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them overtake either of those teams. But for now, for the time being, I'll say San Francisco.
So could my prediction of the Reds being really good now come back into play? Who knows?
I'm still not sold. I'm really still not sold. I'm happy for them that they're the bullpen's finally putting it back together. That they, like I said, Eugenio Suarez, who didn't hit the first 2.5 months of the season, is finally hitting again. So yeah, are they hot at the right time? I also think that they're in probably, arguably, the most overrated division right now in baseball. I wouldn't say the worst division because that wouldn't be true, but probably the most overrated. I mean, think about how much the Brewers struggled this year. The Pirates have been a doormat. The Cardinals haven't been consistent. The Cubs haven't been consistent. You want to talk about the most Jekyll and Hyde division in all of baseball right now. The Reds certainly took advantage of a division that just clearly one team did not want to just single-handedly come away. Right now it is the Cubs because of the hot start they got out to and they finally refound their form, but there's no one in that Central Division right now that I like. But I think the Brewers, like I said, could get hot at the right time. And if they sneak into a playoff spot, I'm not saying that they'll win in the wild card round, but I think they'll be a lot better than advertised as they've been in the regular season.
Rob DeLuca.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ian did great there with all the answers to those questions. I'll help give us a little Yankees perspective as a Yankee fan for you and I, Joey, and the fact that Garrett Cooper has already taken J Happ deep to right, so it's 3-0 Marlins after half an inning.
Right,
and and Joey, I am seeing shades of that 5-15 stretch again. They are doing all the wrong things at the wrong time. When it finally looked like that stretch was over and the Yankees were finally getting hot and doing the right things at the right time, the past couple of games they have now it looks like they're doing all of the wrong things again, right, and coming at the worst, and I mean the literal worst possible time. This is not at all what you want to see from the New York Yankees. This does not look like a team that can beat the Chicago White Sox, or to be honest, they might not be able to beat any of them out there right now. The way they're playing right now, they're not going to beat anybody because they're just out there. Look, they had that one good game against Toronto the other day, and then they get blown out the next night, and then they lose again last night. It's just the consistency is the problem with the New York Yankees this year right now, and it's been that way all season between the hot stretch to start, the abysmal stretch now, the uprise, and now another downfall. It's very, very inconsistent, and it's very, very scary to see when this was a team who not only had World Series aspirations, that they are not even division champs this year. That was supposed to be a layup, and they blew it.
Rob, you can't tell me that you think that the Yankees this year, at least coming into the season, you thought with that rotation, even with Garrett Cole, that you thought that team would be a World Series.
No, but the thing is the way people put it is that the lineup was so stacked that which again I believe was a mistake, but that the lineup was so stacked it wouldn't matter, which never is ever true, which annoys me. But then again, it just bugs me that that's how they run things here. They don't help's not coming. They say, you just got to work with what you have. That's the Brian Cashman way.
Look, pitching and defense, we've seen it over and over again that pitching and defense wins championships. Obviously, when you look at Game 7 last year of the World Series, you certainly don't don't attach yourself to that point. But I mean, do the two of you as Yankee fans, as looking back, even albeit a shortened season, no spring training, nothing like that, are you happy? Are the two of you happy with what you've seen so far from Garrett Cole?
Not even from Garrett Cole. Oh, from Garrett Cole.
Yeah. Garrett Cole.
Okay.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But yeah, I was just Joey, you said, I think I heard you say next man up. That's just it. People thought that was going to be no problem when this team inevitably got injured again because we have the worst training or medical staff, one or the other, or both, in the entire game of baseball. But that's just it. Those guys, those next men up, they overperformed last year. There's no question about it. They overperformed, and these are guys that we had never heard of before, some of them, who are now playing here again and not doing what they did last year because that was a very, very fluky stretch where these guys just kept the Yankees in it and kept them alive and brought them to a division title. But now here we are, and it's not working, and we're in a sprint here. The sprint is finally coming to an end, and now we're only 7 games over 500, and our seeding is not even remotely determined yet. We're currently sitting at 5, yes, we're currently sitting at the 5 seed. But what?
I think they would actually, Robin. I'm looking at the standings while you are. They're 3 games ahead of the Astros
Yes.
for the 5 spot. So it doesn't look like even whether they catch the White Sox or even if the Indians overtake the White Sox,
it was
they're
about
going to move from that 4 or 5 spot. I mean, all they need is to win or for Houston to lose a game. So it seems like more or less that the Yankees are going to have a first-round date, barring what happens with the Twins too.
Yeah, we have to go track.
One of those 3 teams in the AL Central.
Yeah, they're gonna play someone in the AL Central, and they gotta go travel. That was known because last night they blew their chance to get home field to stay in the home field race, and they lost. It's not mathematically official yet, but they literally have to win out and get help in order to overtake and play at home, which isn't going to happen. So, especially because they're already losing now. And I had a feeling this was going to happen because let's go look over at the NL side. You got Miami fighting for their life over here, shocking the baseball world here that they are in the thick of the playoff race. If you want to talk about the shock of the season, it's not even the Yankees' abysmal 5-15 stretch and now having to play the wild card on the road. It is the lone fact that the Miami Marlins are just about on their way to the postseason.
Don Mattingly, Final Manager of the Year, right?
Yep. Absolutely. So let's keep it moving. I don't mean to cut you off there, Rob, but I want to stay on track here, and we did go off the track there with the Yankees. But again, I'm assuming that would be your most intriguing team to look forward to for the next few days.
Gotta pay attention.
My
on track.
My most intriguing team to look forward to is the San Diego Padres. And why? Because Mike Clevenger just hurt himself again. And right now, guys, the way it looks is that there is a guy named Dinelson Lamet. And right now, in his last 3 starts, he's thrown 7 2/3 innings pitched against Colorado, 11 strikeouts, 6 hits. On September 7th, September 14th against the Dodgers, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, an earned run, 11 strikeouts, and then most recently against the Mariners, which again is really you're not really doing much there. 10 strikeouts, 2 hits, an earned run, 6 innings pitched, combined 32 strikeouts in those 3 starts. So there was at one point, Ian, where Chris Paddock may not have made this wild card roster, and now all of a sudden, he's having some issues, and he may have to come in and save the day at some point if Dinelson Lamet and Zach Davies can't do it. So, could we see the Padres? How is their pitching going to be with no ace?
I think that, well, the good thing for the Padres is that if they do survive the wild card round, then I read John Heyman's tweet, it seems like Clevenger's going to be okay by the time the division series rolls around. But if you're going to throw Paddock out there, he's got to get game 1. If you don't want to throw him out there game 1, you want to put Lamet out there, and hopefully he gets you the W in game 1 against the Cardinals going up against Flaherty. Then maybe he starts game 2. There's no way you run a rotation out there, a short rotation of Lamet, Davies, who have been 2 of your better starters, and then if this series goes 3, you're depending on Chris Paddock, who has been anything but what the Padres have expected of him, of their prospect over the last 2 years. From a hitting perspective, if I'm the San Diego Padres, I'm licking my chops over the possibility of that they could be playing the St. Louis Cardinals in the wild card round, because the Padres have one of the best offensive lineups in baseball. The Cardinals, I believe, are one of the bottom 7 teams in the league in terms of runs per game. And then Jack Flaherty, who came in this year as the expected ace, not Adam Wainwright, because we know Wainwright's certainly on the downside of his career, but Jack Flaherty, who had a solid year last year, expected to be the ace of this team, has put up a negative .2 WAR and a 4.84 earned run average.
Yeah.
Number 1 pitcher in St. Louis's rotation. So, I mean, granted, you'll have Wainwright in a short series who has that playoff experience, but there's no reason, to even feel without Clevenger, because you're supposedly getting him back for the NLDS as to why you would think that, the Padres, who are one of the best hitting teams in baseball, shouldn't beat a team that's one of the worst hitting teams in baseball in the wild card round.
Yeah,
it's not as if that, like the American League, where 5 through 8 is actually deep. 5 through 8 right now in the National League is not deep. So I can't even believe I'm throwing the Marlins names in there, but after that, you have the Cardinals, the Reds, the Giants, the Phillies, all teams right now that are a game or two over 500. And I'm looking at the standings as I'm saying, because I knew 3 of those 4 teams were. I didn't know where the Cardinals stood on the totem pole, so to speak. Yep. But these aren't teams that are deep. That's why my feeling on Milwaukee is that there are just so many question marks regarding Miami coming into the playoffs, despite the fact they're leading the Yankees right now. Experience. St. Louis is a team that's struggling to hit. Their ace isn't performing. San Francisco has 12 blown leads this year. So that's why if Milwaukee gets it, I'm kind of like, look out, because they're a team that's been there before. They're a team that can explode offensively at any moment. Yes, they have questions in regards to their rotation, but with regards getting back on point here with San Diego, they should be in the NLDS. I'd be shocked if it's not them playing the winner of the Dodgers versus whoever they're going to play series, just because they're better offensively. Yes, their starting pitching and bullpen still has question marks, but I think they have enough runs to get them there in a short series.
So just to conclude this segment here, fellas, my biggest, I would say, intriguing teams, as I did say, would be San Diego, because of the possibility of the Ian, what did John Heyman say? Elbow impingement or infringement?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact word
terminology. Yeah,
I don't remember the terminology of the injury, but the expectation is that he would be back for the division series.
So with that being said, I personally do believe San Diego will win that. But I think the biggest matchups that I can see will be the best ones in the wild card best of 3, all at the home site of the higher seed. I personally believe Tampa Bay and Toronto will be a fantastic series, as well as Cincinnati and Atlanta, because in my opinion, Atlanta is very overrated. They have been, and Cincinnati right now, if they can keep doing what they are doing, look out for Cincinnati as well. And also channeling my good friend Anthony Iapoce, Chicago Cubs hitting coach. Listen, you got to get your boys to start hitting, because Miami is coming, and their pitchers right now: Sixto Sanchez, Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez. Those top 3 from Miami, they're looking nice. And they're looking to take out Chicago's hitters. And just one last thing here. Sixto Sanchez came from Philadelphia in that JT Realmuto trade. And right now, guys, just a couple of years ago, when that trade happened, I thought right away Philadelphia won that trade immediately. Oh, you got to wait. And because right now, if JT Realmuto and the Phillies do not win anything or even get into the playoffs, I think Miami has overtaken Philly as the winners of that trade. Ian,
Realmuto's on his way out the door at the end of the season if they don't resign him.
That's another thing, too. Also with Toronto, guys, Alejandro Kirk, 5'8", 265-pound catcher who was promoted from AAA just a few weeks ago, has done absolutely phenomenal and has really gotten this team back on the map as well. Going back to what Rob DeLuca was saying about the Yankees, they are 11-18 away from Yankee Stadium, and they are 21-7 inside Yankee Stadium. So there's really a lot going on with every single team, and exactly what I've told Rob also numerous times via text, and I think I've said this to Ian as well via text or wherever, is that this whole team, this whole year, everything that's going on in 2020, anything can happen. And I think right now it all starts with this playoffs here, because really anything can happen. Let's keep moving forward, guys. The way it looks here is that there's a lot going on in hockey. And in a half hour, actually, in 26 minutes, we have Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. And right now, Tampa Bay leads 2-1. And we're going to see what happens with no Steven Stamkos. They've done phenomenal without him. But yeah, last game, he came out and scored a goal. Actually,
what a goal!
Yeah, I was going to say,
how many players in the National Hockey League score from that angle?
Yeah,
in their first game back in
almost
6 months.
Yeah.
7 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
7 months, roughly 7 months. Yeah.
7 months he does that.
Scores from that angle over the shoulder, just under the crossbar. 7 months out of the game.
Yeah.
Wow. I couldn't believe it when I saw it.
So he's out for game 4, but we don't know what the deal is yet with warm-ups. But all I could say is that most likely we are probably going to see that 11 forward, 7 defenseman type deal again. But there's a lot that who knows that could be determined here tonight. Can Dallas find their groove defensively? Can Miro Heiskanen turn out to be the player that he was just a couple of weeks ago? And can Dallas do anything and try and get past this stout defensive core of Tampa Bay?
Is the answer the fact that does Dallas need to get it going defensively, or the fact that the top line hasn't performed? Most of the top line has not performed in 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, Jamie Benn is pointless in his last 3 games. Tyler Seguin has not produced since the Colorado series. Radulov had a 5-game point streak until game 3. So if you really, I mean, I understand the fact that, listen, Tampa Bay came out in game 3, and your 3 goal scorers, your 3 biggest goal scorers were Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, and Victor Hedman. If you're John Cooper, I don't know if you could be any happier in terms of your offensive production on the ice in game 3. But to me, the key for Dallas is their top line finally needs to wake up. I do actually think, I mean, I would not be surprised to see this series end in 2 more games. Part of me says, yeah, the series is already over just because the top line for Dallas cannot figure it out. I do think, though, my gut is telling me somehow the top line is going to figure it out tonight, and they're actually going to even up the series. But I don't know if it's so much the defense performing, Joey, as it is the fact that the top line for Dallas just right now, your best scorer on the ice right now isn't even your best player. It's Joe Pavelski. I mean, yeah, we understand he's been the reclamation project that he's been. However, that should not be your leading scorer on the ice right now in the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, it's not looking too hot from Dallas right now. And Rob DeLuca, your thoughts on Game 4 tonight that comes underway in about 23 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's clear that just the presence of Steven Stamkos made a huge difference for the Tampa Bay Lightning. That aside from him even scoring, just him being there, you could see the Lightning were playing differently. That's what happens when you get your captain. But at the same time, now he's not there. So it'll be interesting. But with Stamkos not in tonight, this is a big chance for Dallas to respond and get this series even back up, which, again, because of that, I like your strategy, Joey, of going 11-7. Because of that fact, you need to get a little more defensive because now Dallas is going to attack here, and because they got to try to even the series. They're not going to play their conservative hockey. They're going to play their Dallas Stars hockey, the hockey that has gotten them to this point.
Well, they've also been playing, Tampa that is, has been playing 11-7 this whole postseason and this whole time in both bubbles. So, just to go back to that after losing Stamkos is really not, should not be that foreign to them.
No.
Because they've been doing it for the last however many games, again, in both bubbles.
Well, it seems like going back to what you were saying, Rob, it seems like the Dallas, going back to playing Stars hockey, is the question really becomes, can Anton Khudobin steal Game 4?
Right.
That's really the question. I mean, call Game 1 what it was. Game 1 was a hangover for Tampa Bay from the Islanders series. And you saw it on the ice. You saw the way the teams performed. Yeah. So Khudobin really didn't have to do all too much. Can he finally steal one? I did say last week that I felt that Khudobin would steal 1, if not 2 games.
He has to.
And then I guess he's got to steal because, he really hasn't stolen one yet. Because he really hasn't looked all that great in games 2 and 3 just because of the offensive firepower that Tampa Bay's been throwing at the net. But I don't know in terms of I would like to get a little more of an elaboration from you, Rob, in regards to what Stars hockey is, because their top line hasn't been performing. I understand defensively, too, but what exactly are you expecting out of Dallas in Game 4?
That's exactly it. We haven't seen Stars hockey at all this series, and that includes Game 1. We haven't seen that. The Stars hockey, they get production from everybody. Like you saw how they advanced past Vegas. You had a couple of rookies winning games for them. Kids you never heard of prior to this bubble, and they go off. And I would have said their names, but I have a little trouble pronouncing them sometimes, so I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try to butcher. Yeah, I'm not going to try to butcher those out here right now. But yeah, they get their scoring at clutch times from so many different players, mainly the top line. The top line has to perform, which we haven't seen. They buckle down defensively, which takes the workload off of Anton Khudobin's shoulders a little bit. But at the same time, he will come up big with a big save when you need it. We have not seen that yet either this series, and that's what they need to have happen on all three fronts tonight.
Yeah.
What's your take on tonight's game, Joey?
Honestly, I am very, very questionable with Dallas. I don't see them. I just think that, again, as you said, Ian, the first line is non-existent.
Yeah.
And again, we are seeing the second line in Joe Pavelski do things that he's been doing all throughout his career. But again, aside from the big Pavelski, there's no one else that's really contributing, and that does include Esa Lindell, John Klingberg, Miro Heiskanen. It's not looking good, and I think that their window to win a Stanley Cup is beginning to close, and we'll get to that obviously, and either next week or the week after in our NHL Free Agent Frenzy special. But I think their window is closing, and I think that Dallas will not win tonight. And I believe that they will be put on the brink of elimination tomorrow night, Saturday night, 8:00 is going to be the back-to-back.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think the top line might actually show tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
The thing over in 5. My prediction was Tampa Bay in 6, but Tampa Bay has been by far and away the last 2 games.
Yeah, I said Tampa in 7. And look, I said what Dallas has to do. I said what they have to do. They're not going to do it. So
Yeah,
they've met their match. Look, I knew it would happen eventually. They finally found it. It just happened to be in the Stanley Cup final.
Andrew Cogliano has not looked good. He's aged a lot, and also Blake Como, who's one of their better defensive forwards, is also out.
Is that New York Islanders legend Blake Como?
That is New York Islanders legend Blake Como. Yep, he's out according to the fourth period legend Dave Pagnotta, and also Elliot Friedman as well. No Como for Dallas, and that is another big loss there as well. So we move forward here. So final predictions again. Ian, your thought on Game 4 tonight?
I'm going to stick with my gut and say Dallas evens the series. But again, I'm going to go reiterate what I said again. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing over on Sunday night.
Rob DeLuca.
It does come down to if Dallas comes back and plays their game tonight. If they do, they might keyword might be able to steal it, but I don't think it's enough. I think, like I said, they met their match. Tampa puts them on the brink tonight with the back-to-back tomorrow.
Yep.
Who does that in the Stanley Cup final?
Yep. I'm going to say the same exact thing. It's going to be Tampa, and then I think tomorrow would be the time where we could potentially see Dallas come through, but I don't think so. I think it's over tomorrow. Tampa wins tonight and also wins tomorrow as well.
Who schedules back-to-back in a Stanley Cup final? Who does that?
Well, we haven't even.
I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to avoid to their absolute darndest the fact that there is going to be a Sunday night football game on NBC, and not to put the Stanley Cup final on
Sunday,
NBC, a game that might clinch the cup. And I think I said Sunday before, and I meant to say Saturday.
Yeah, but they didn't want it on NBC Sports.
Yeah, I don't think you want a team lifting the cup on that game. Always is on national TV. So
games 4 through 6. It's always the NHL has been doing this many years now, ever since NBC took over pretty much. Game 1 on NBC, games 2 and 3 on NBC Sports, and then games 4 to 7, all potential deciders on the network.
They're trying to do everything they can to avoid conflicting with football. I mean, the only thing I think NBC is going to have on Saturday is Notre Dame football, but that's at 2:00. So
yeah. So I personally, like I said, that would be my pick. Tampa. Rob has Tampa. Ian has Dallas tonight. We'll see what happens in 15 minutes, roughly, or because it's on national TV, it'll probably be about 20 to 25 minutes because you got the little pregame show there. But let's keep moving forward in the world of hockey, guys. There was a trade between Pittsburgh and Florida. Pittsburgh has been very active early on this offseason. And they traded away right winger, 33-year-old Patrick Hornquist, and they got back in return Colton Sevier and Michael Matheson, which again is in my opinion, a great deal for both sides. But Patrick Hornquist, guys, his words were not. He didn't really like the trade, so I'll read you exactly what he wrote. Quote: "It was obviously a tough situation for me and my family when you get blindsided a little bit. When you know you have a no trade clause, you don't think this kind of question is going to come up. But when I find out Pittsburgh didn't want me and Florida really wants me, it was an easy choice for me and my family. I'm super excited to go down and win games." End quote. Ian Schraier. Do we see what is this, like Brandon Cooks now just in hockey? They don't want me. They want me. I was traded 3 times. Well, this guy's actually now traded 2 times.
I'm going to follow up your question with another question. And the reason being is because the Panthers are going to enter the offseason in a very strict financial situation. Is as a result, are they expecting not to re-sign Mike Hoffman? Because that's my question, is that Patrick Hornquist by the start of next season is going to be 34. Mike Hoffman's 31. This past season, obviously before the layoff and everything like that, before the playoffs started, Patrick Hornquist in 52 games only had 32 points. Mike Hoffman had 59 points in 69 games. Clearly they don't think – clearly Mike Hoffman's expecting to get big money. Clearly Florida can't sign him long-term, so maybe they went a little bit older and tried to get a little bit more of a veteran presence and somebody they can rally around along with guys like, Lucas Woolmark and the top-line players like Barkov and Jonathan Huberdeau. But my question for you guys really to kind of throw it back to you is when I said I'm going to answer your question with another question, is if they're not – going to try to re-sign Hoffman, is Hornquist really an upgrade now?
No, I don't believe so. And I think also with his injury history, I'm sorry, Rob, to take that from you quickly, but
sure.
It's, again, I personally believe that Patrick Hornquist, his injury history is the telltale sign. And also I think that they do not have, not only, I think South Florida is great, been to that building, great facility, but they can
only put about 20 people in the seats.
Right, exactly. Great facility, whatever the case may be. But this is a team that can't attract free agents. This team has a problem bringing in high-profile free agents. And I think right now with Patrick Hornquist, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, and also who has played on a team that was coached by Barry Trotz as well in Nashville, you're bringing a real winner down to South Florida. Is this an upgrade? No, I don't think so. But I personally do believe that this is a locker room presence and someone that could potentially wear the A when Huberdeau and Ekblad can't do so, and Keith Yandel when they can't. Again,
but that's a guy you're willing to put over a guy like, since we're basically assuming the fact they can't resign Mike Hoffman,
right?
We're saying at this point that this is a guy we feel comfortable at 34 years old putting on our second line to become the player that he was pre-injury 2-3 seasons ago.
You kind of have no choice right now because the way it is that it looked as if that I think the years with Michael Matheson was also the issue with Florida. Because he was also signed for another 6 years at $4.85 million. But also Patrick Hornquist, he's only on for another 3 years, and maybe Bill Zito is saying, okay, we might be able to get vintage Patrick Hornquist back up and running. And could he be going with Noel Acciari and potentially Brett Connolly? What an old line that is. But again,
for me, Florida is just it's not a winning situation there. I mean, there's been reasons upon reasons as to why people say, "Oh, when we think expansion or teams leaving, are the Panthers going to leave Sunrise?" It's not a foregone conclusion that they won't.
Yeah, I hope not. But again, there's so many places where they could go. But again, that'll definitely be a conversation for our free agent frenzy. But again, I want to get to Rob DeLuca here, because again, we look at some of these free agents that they have here: Brian Boyle, Eric Howla. I think Boyle was the only one out of those two. I just think that these guys all came via trade. Evgeny Dodonov came from the KHL. Noah Lachari came via trade. Frank Vetrano, I believe he came off of buyout. Huberdeau and Barkov, those guys are homegrown players. And the only one that I can really think of that was a free agent signing was Keith Yandel, and also Sergei Bobrovsky. So you have those two guys. You have to re-sign Mackenzie Weegar as well, who is the running mate with Aaron Ekblad as well. So Rob DeLuca, your thoughts on the situation in South Florida?
I mean, looking at this trade, for me, it had me saying, why? Why is either side doing this? Granted, yes, I agree that the Matheson contract was a massive problem for Florida. They had to get rid of it. I don't even blame them for doing that, especially when, personally speaking, his wife is twice the hockey player that he is, considering his wife is Emily Falzer, gold medalist in 2018 for the United States women hockey team. But that's besides the point. But yeah, I just don't get why either side would do this trade. I mean, look, because Patrick Hornquist, great guy, great player, maybe has a little bit left in the tank, is not better than Mike Hoffman, who Ian, you are probably right. They cannot re-sign probably. They cannot afford him.
That's what I'm saying, right?
So, yeah, I don't think that look, they, like you said, Joey, they don't have much of a choice here. This is what they have to roll with now. But, yeah, I don't see this as really being a necessary win for either side per se. I wouldn't say anyone won or lost. It's more just like, okay, the trade happened. Here's who went where. Let's move on to the next transaction kind of thing.
I think, Ian, and just before we get back to you, Ian, I have to say this quote here from Patrick Hornquist, he has guts saying this. Because,
look, I come back
guts saying this because clearly, again, I guess he forgot the fact that we're in a pandemic, and also there's also financial issues here. And also Pittsburgh, he knows what the deal is as well. He knows they messed up with Jack Johnson with that signing. So now they're probably going to ship him out, which is why they got Matheson as well to replace him, because that was an absolute dumpster fire. He came into his own for about 2 games, and that was it. And that was in this restart. But again, to go back to the point, this team cannot do anything in terms of signing free agents. This team is worse than the New York Islanders. In terms of free agents. This team is worse than the New Jersey Devils in attracting free agents. Now I'm talking about. Now, 2020 Devils, Rob, calm down. Ian, your thoughts, your final thoughts with this, or what you were going to say.
Well, I wanted to kind of to use Mike Hoffman as a jumping off point, because I was doing some reading today, and I don't think they'll have the money to move around in order to acquire him. But the team that keeps getting linked to Mike Hoffman is the New York Islanders. So I don't see
with regards to blue guy. He really is. No, he really is. I'm telling you, this is exactly the kind of move Lou Lamoriello would make. I want him in New Jersey, but Joey, that's where you're wrong. New Jersey is still by far the worst place to try to attract free agents. You got to be kidding me. You think anyone wants to come here and play in Newark?
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Yeah, but South Florida is not a worse place to go. It's a better place to go.
That is true. That is very true. Ian, continue your thoughts.
No, I mean, that was really the end of my thought. I mean, do you think that there's a way that they can move any sort of money around to try to put a lucrative contract out there? Because it seems like they're not going to get Andrew Ladd off the book.
But they can't. They gotta pay up to number 13 over there. They gotta give him his bread.
Fellas, that is a conversation for 2 weeks from now when we have 2 hours worth.
Oh, you're such a tease, Joey.
You really are. Because let me tell you something. Free agent frenzy, especially here is tons of fun, and all we do is talk. It is like, as DB said, it is Christmas morning. It really is. Ian remembers that. He said it. It is like Christmas morning. That hockey is back, and that's exactly what it is with free agent frenzy as well. Rob, finish your thought.
It's just like I said, yeah. I mean, look, I don't think this trade benefits anybody, and like it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt anybody per se, but it didn't really do anything either. Like
the only team that it benefits to me would be Pittsburgh, because now
I would have to agree, because look, none of these players are going to be huge difference makers, but Pittsburgh gets a little younger, and that's what they need.
Yeah. There's no doubt that getting Hornquist off the payroll and getting themselves off the so-called AARP card for at least one player definitely helps them along the way, because you could obviously see that just like the Capitals, I think even more than the Capitals, the Penguins are running on their last few legs before they have to start tearing it down and rebuilding it. Yeah. So it's good for them that they got younger. I still don't think that they're a cup contender in 2021 by any means. Yeah. But I think at least it'll give them one last shot to get a little bit younger, and with Sullivan on the bench and Crosby and Malkin on the bench, that they'll be able to at least try to make one more run. I don't think it'll lead very far, but at least they can.
So now let's again, we got a couple more minutes here. Let's conclude this. The way it looks is that we actually have a little bit of a comment from a good friend of ours named Patrick McCormick, and this is his comment: "The Prue is the best jumbotron in the league." Well, I got to tell you, Mac, you are right.
At least it's on side.
Yeah, say it again.
I got that new jumbotron. It's nice, but
he does.
At least it's on side. It's not a scoreboard that's offside. At least.
Can jumbotrons give me W's? No, they cannot.
It's true. Ladies and gentlemen, also we continue this. Jeff Petrie signs a 4-year extension a year ahead of free agency with Montreal. This is big for Montreal because they also traded last week for Joel Edmondson from Carolina, and they were able to lock him up. They traded for his rights. They were able to lock him up, and now they just signed also their second pairing defenseman, Jeff Petrie, just right under Shea Weber. So this looks really good, and not only that too, Jeff Petrie is a big stickler when it comes to winning. So this is a big deal for impending free agents, especially for a restricted one like Max Domi. Ian, start with you.
Montreal is kind of like one of those teams like the Rangers that are really on the upswing. I would say. I mean, listen, they impressed everybody when they upset Pittsburgh in the playoffs. We all wrote them off and said there's no way that Pittsburgh is going to not come away with winning that series. There was a lot to like. Shea Weber refound his youth a little bit, and I think they're young, they're scrappy, and they're just a fun team to watch. And I think they're going to be a real good team to watch out for in the Atlantic and come this time next season.
Rob,
yeah, I mean Montreal is certainly they showed signs of life defeating Pittsburgh like that. They did a wonderful thing. They did all of us Metro Division fans a huge favor by getting rid of Pittsburgh, and they didn't get the number one. I don't want to talk about the number one pick anymore. But yeah, I think Montreal is definitely headed in the right direction. They certainly they want to get back to what they once were in the early 2010s and the late 2000s. Is what they were, just very, very good, very vintage, very good. You know, you had prime PK Subban, you had a prime Carey Price, who Carey Price has, in my opinion, plenty left in the tank. So like Montreal definitely wants to get something to work before he ends up running out of fuel.
Yeah, are you a little salty about the fact that the Rangers are now overshadowing New Jersey's 2 top 10 picks? Is that
what we want to call it? The Rangers would overshadow the Devils anyway. What are we talking about? You're talking about Newark, New Jersey, and you're talking about Manhattan, New York City. There's no winning here for me.
The only thing that you have is sports betting. That's about it.
That's what I've got, and I enjoy it to the full.
There you go.
At least you can go hang out at Red Bull Arena. It's a lot better than the Rock. So
there you go.
Yeah, Harrison, New Jersey, so much better.
One final thought with Jeff Petrie, fellas. I think that this is a massive move because let's not forget the end of his tenure in Edmonton was very, very rocky. He wanted out because he saw the future that they were not going to win. And very funny, they did not win. So he wanted out, he got out, and now him putting the pen to the paper, especially for Jeff Petrie, is humongous. When he does that, look out, free agents, because he is one of these hockey players that really just wants to win. And again, signing a 4-year deal again ahead of free agents, a year ahead of free agency, is out of this world, in my opinion. My jaw doesn't drop with a lot of these hockey trades or signings, but this one to me was by far the biggest one that we have seen in a very long time. And for those that are watching out there that may not understand the significance of this, he is one that when he says something, he really does it. And when he didn't like Edmonton, he made it known. He wasn't going to play there anymore. He wanted out so badly that he was eventually in Montreal, and he said it also in the when he got signed. Also, there was that just because they were able to win against Pittsburgh, he saw the signs that possibly the light is at the end of the tunnel, and he could see it. So that's why he signed there. Big move for Mark Bergevin. And,
very, very rare for that to happen in hockey.
Exactly.
I mean that kind of falls in the lines, 30 years ago with Eric Lindros. But I mean, very, very rare for that to happen in the sport of hockey.
Yeah, for sure. And one final thing, fellas, or actually two final things here. We do have the extension here, as we usually do go over always, but it is okay with two final things here. Kudos to Bobby Ryan. He was bought out today by Ottawa. They do save about $3 million on the cap. For buying him out. He was put on buyout waivers today by Ottawa, by Pierre Dorion, and he just won the Masterton Trophy. He had a lot of problems mentally and also with the alcohol bottle as well. So really, really good stuff from him that he was able to eventually get back on the wagon, and now hopefully, I believe he will be similar to a Corey Perry type signing where he was with Dallas. If he can skate, that's the biggest thing. I don't know if he can skate in today's NHL, but we'll see. I believe that he will be heading back to the West Coast or even in the Western Conference because, as we all know, fellas, the Eastern Conference is fast, but the Western Conference, they're slowly getting faster, but just hit that. They are slowly getting faster, but the Western Conference has always been known as the bigger and the bulkier teams in hockey. So that's where I believe that he will land. And yeah, as we said, the Masterton Trophy. What does this mean for Bobby Ryan, guys? Because again, a really fantastic story from him, how he's bounced back from a lot that has gone on in his life.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a story I'll never get tired of hearing. Bobby Ryan is one of the most inspirational players in this league. I get Ottawa had to do what they had to do because, they're trying to fix their more than broken mess over there. But they're a complete dumpster fire. But that won't change until they get Eugene Melnyk out of there. But
he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, he most certainly is not. But yeah, I mean, look, Bobby Ryan. I really hope Bobby Ryan finds a new home soon. I would certainly love to see him come home because he is a New Jersey native after all. So I would have no trouble on a cheap contract. Would love to have him be a mentor for some of these young guys and push them in the right direction. I'd be ecstatic to have someone like him on this team. I don't think it'll happen because I believe with his age going up, he wants to try to get one more out there. And God bless him. I hope he goes and gets it.
I can only imagine, what he was going through that caused him to really turn his life upside down. But it's great to see him be an inspiration. He was certainly one of my favorite hot players in the game when he came up with the Ducks. I actually would love to see him return to Anaheim. I think he would be a great veteran presence for a team that really, really struggled. I think he'd be, be a nice little rallying cry. But yeah, Rob hit the nail on the head. I mean, Ottawa's a mess, and I definitely think Bobby Ryan will land on his feet somewhere. I think it'd be great to send him, maybe not so much home to Jersey, but I think it would be great to see him land on his feet with the team that he started with. And I think that would be a nice little send-off for a guy like Bobby Ryan who deserves it.
That's fair, but I have to say, guys, also Anaheim is also in a ginormous mess as well. And they might not even be able to afford the league minimum. They really are. They really are not good. And the way that Corey Perry's buyout number is that is the biggest cap hit right now, just under Ryan Getzlaf. So and also, of course, John Gibson. But things are not looking too good out there in Anaheim. But I do like the analysis in there where he could potentially go back there. But you would think that he would want to win now, and especially at age 33, I believe he was, or 34. It's again, we'll be talking about that nonstop in the next in our next show, but also on our free agent frenzy special. This Ottawa team is, I'm gonna say, they're looking pretty good in terms of rebuilding. Rob DeLuca, they're looking good. They have 7 picks in the first 2 rounds. And it's unbelievable right now what they have begun to just gather from everybody. They traded away almost their whole roster and get back these guys. And
be careful, you're gonna make it sound like he actually knows what he's doing up there.
Guys, one final thing. This is the last thing because, as we did say, hockey is on, baseball is on. The Yankees are rallying. They're now down 3-2. With the runner on second base, Giancarlo, up. Last thing here, Pac-12 football, Pac-12 basketball, officially back in business. Ian Schraier, you are a part of the college sports business or industry or whatever the hell we want to call it. Ian, your thoughts on this, and as we continue to say student, athlete, keyword student, your thoughts on the Pac-12 now forming a full college basketball map.
You talking about college basketball or are you talking about college football?
I'm talking about whatever the hell you want to talk about. Football and basketball.
Listen, my response to that is going to be very, very short. Last year there was a $66 million base payout to all the Power 5 conferences. That includes the Pac-12. You do the math. That's just over $13 million paid to the Pac-12. You want to ask yourself why we're having a college football season? I don't think I need to say more than that.
There you go. Rob DeLuca.
Let's go. That's just let's play sports, baby.
What a way to conclude the show here. So, again,
Joey and me will bring you college sports in the next hour.
They will.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's going to be tons of fun. As we did say, a little sense of normalcy is beginning to return among us sports fans. Again, folks, for everyone that is out there, we must be careful. Let's keep it moving here. Again, as we did say, tomorrow, our little cross promotion with the New York Professional Scouts Association and also here on the Blackjack Media Group. We do cross promote and we do a little segment called the Scouts Minute. We are 23 weeks into that. We will be highlighting the winningest coach in Seton Hall Pirates history. Also became a Major League Baseball scout, one that signed Earl Williams, and also the legendary Joe Torre, John David Russell, also known as Honey Russell, former Milwaukee Braves, Montreal Expos, and Chicago White Sox pro scout. That will air tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time on the New York Professional Scouts channels. At NY Pro Scouts is where you should definitely be finding that. Also, fellas, next Thursday is going to be our interview with Arizona Coyotes broadcaster Matt McConnell. He will be joining us on Thursday, October 1st, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Ladies and gentlemen, for Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca, I'm Joey Jarzynka, and for all of us here at the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Group, we'll see you next time.